So thanks, Liz, for sending in an image. So we're looking at a really, really neat nightscape, and we've got all sorts of cool texture and detail. I got to switch my keyboard. There we go. It's going up through here. So very visually interesting. So we've got all sorts of things that are shooting. I love all the comments that are coming or are shooting stars. So much fun. And if we look at the actual stars, they're nice and sharp. So really nice job on the technical side of things, getting all of those so we don't see those little mini trails. Very challenging to do. And we've got the shooting stars, which adds some cool visual interest to it. So right off the bat, it's got some impact and something that kind of makes you say, huh, we don't very frequently see little clouds in front of it or those stars, so many of that meteor shower. So really visually interesting, something that's kind of fun. When looking at it, I do see a little bit of a tilt. It feels like we have a higher horizon over here and it goes down low. It may have been perfectly level when he photographed it, but because this is so silhouetted down here, it's a really hard to tell that it's not. And we've got these clouds coming at an angle, which gives us that kind of a strange feeling. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the crop tool here and just use the straighten button. And I'm going to just kind of do it by eye, maybe picking up this top horizon and tilting it down just a little bit to help give it a little bit more of an appearance of being a straighter horizon. I know that might not be what was actually happening at the scene, but it makes it feel more balanced with it. I'm going to go ahead and crop in the bottom just a little bit as well as the top so we fit within the confines, but you may have this with a larger image. Next, I'm looking at some of the foreground elements. We have this little piece down here, the rock. It's kind of pulling attention towards that bottom corner now that we've got it straightened out. So I'm just going to crop in just a little teeny tiny bit, either to bring it in one way or the other, kind of help balance that out. And we've got a lot of weight now that's coming onto this right side of the image and a really bright spot on the left side of the image. So I'm just going to kind of bring in that crop just a little bit so we don't have as bright and vivid of a color that's coming through. So now we've got an image with a lot of the details there, and we don't have the distracting horizon line. So feeling really nice. If we zoom in quite a bit, and this is pixel peeping, I'm at 100%, I'm going to come in even tighter. We can see that we do have quite a bit of noise or grain that's happening inside the image. And this is something that you're going to end up with astrophotography. It's just always present. But I do want to show you a little bit of a trick that we can do for cleaning it up. So trying to reduce what it is. If you try to use a traditional denoising, like the new AI denoise, which is kind of cool using Topaz, we can let it think for a second, and it's going to go through, analyze the image, and try to take out that noise that's there. But in this case, it's not going to work very well, is going to be my guess on it, because it's going to have a hard time differentiating between the noise and the stars, the elements that are actually there and that we care about. But we'll see what it does. But we've got a lot of different techniques. Oh, wow, look at that. That is not so pretty. That is like just smudged all over. It kept all the big stars, but everything else looks like somebody just went crazy with it. So not the effect that we want on there. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate another layer and let me show you a different technique that I think works better. So I'm going to come up here to filter and camera raw filter because I love it. And the trick with this is that we want to zoom in to 100% at least so that we're getting nice and big. If you're out full and trying to do this, it's not going to work so well. We want to be zoomed in. Because we're on zoom, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in at 200% just so that we can really see that. And inside of camera raw, we can come down here and we've got some options for being able to smooth stuff out. I'm going to look at the detail, and inside of it, we've got a noise reduction slider. And if I were just to crank this all the way up, it's going to universally soften everything. And it's producing some kind of artifacts that are there. It doesn't know what to do with it. But I'm going to start heavy so that we can refine this. And all we have to do is hit this little down arrow, and it's going to bring up some additional details that we can modify in this. So I'm leaving this at 100% so we can really see what's happening. And now with this detail slider, if you hold down the Alt or Option key, it will convert it to black and white, but it's going to give you a preview of what's actually happening. So we can choose the point that we want to maybe control some of these details. Where are they starting to come in at, and where are we losing the stuff that we actually care about? So I'm going to pull back that so it takes away that background noise, but kind of leaves the stars. And I can see that's somewhere around this 50%. And we could do the same thing with the contrast. pull it back and forth. Not much on this one. I don't know if you can see it a little bit showing up there. I want to pull that up. So now we've got it optimized for this image. And this works great no matter the type of image that you're working with. This one's just really pronounced because we have stars that are battling out with all that noise and grain. So now that we've applied it, we can back this noise reduction off because we've just dialed in our settings. So here's completely off, and we can slowly start bringing it up until it comes to a point where it starts to blur it out, but we're not introducing that artifacts. So I'm coming around here. I'm around 50% on this image, and I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And so now if we look at, again, I'm really zoomed in on this 300%. If we look at a before and after, we can see that it just kind of took the edge off without taking away the sharpness of the stars that we had. And if we pull back out so that we're on a wider image, we can see that it's a lot more detail without being too pronounced coming through. Especially when we compare that to the original, whew, or to the AI denoise one. That one was just a total miss. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that one so we don't see it. So now we have our base that's here, and I really like this natural look to it. I think it's just got kind of that magic and wonder that's there. But with astrophotography, we can always play with a little bit of that saturation and vibrance. It can add some extra magical pop to it, but it is easy to go way overboard with it to crank it up. So if you are going to play with that one, just a small little enhancement goes a long ways. If we go too much, it just becomes too unbelievable. So you can find that spot that just feels good or natural for you. Just a little bit extra pop that's coming through there. But overall, I think we've got a really, really visually interesting, especially with that meteor shower that's coming through. Just that crop takes away the distracting elements, a little bit of denoise, and we got something that's pretty fun coming up here. All right, let's look at another image. Thanks for Liz for that one. All right. So this one's from Carrie. And she had the note that this one did not merit at image competition, but it is stinking adorable. It did at her state, though, but not through PPA's competition. So let's talk about what's happening with it because we got some little cuties that are up here. First, looking at the image, it feels a little bit dark, and I suspect that we're not quite getting very bright in these highlights. If I were to take maybe a sample of that, we can see that, okay, I'm at a brightness of 71. So we've got a lot of headroom for being able to get up brighter on this image if we do want to. If we're looking at some of the darker areas, I can also pull up the info button here. We can see that we get into a pure, almost pure black. So a 0 is pure black, absolutely no detail. Anything less than about 12 or 15 means that we're not visually seeing much information there. So we've got some really deep shadows that we aren't going to be able to recover. Meaning that if I were to take, say, a levels adjustment and say, let's brighten that up, that's still going to be very, very blocked up right there. So that means on this image that we're going to have to work with the black as a piece of the image. But we can still have fun with it, and we can embrace that for a high contrast look. I'm going to pull up the curves layer. And inside the curves, we've got this handy dandy little tool that we can click anywhere on the image, and it's going to plot it out on our curves path for us. So if I find something in her cheek, we can see that we're in that kind of mid tones into those mid highlights and not hitting white anywhere near white on this image. So I can click it and just long holding. Now I can just drag up just a little bit and get some brightness that's coming up through there. So we can just add just a hint of contrast into this image and really embrace some of those whites. So I don't want to go too far where we pull it way, way up there and start blowing out all those details. Just needs a little punch. That little bit of contrast, I think, really plays into this image. So when we're looking at it, I'm going to pull up a new screen here and go kind of a fun blue color just so we can see what's happening here. So our subject here is looking off and down. This one's looking right at the camera. So we're brought into this attention and then, or into the subject, and then we're brought through here and kind of exit the frame. So it doesn't hold our attention. We don't have anything stopping or blocking with it. So that's something that we're going to have to embrace inside of this, that we want kind of that still moment, or this being our central subject. This being our central subject, and this being kind of an accent that helps with the storytelling on it. And the crop is going to work great on that. I'm just going to pull this in so that we're not looking at the crop on with the presentation through it. There we go. So we have it nice centered, a very traditional spot. We can see if we're looking at kind of rule of thirds that we're going into maybe the blackness of that hair, where her ear is, kind of a cheek that's up here and on the shoulder. I think if we brought this in just a little bit tighter of a crop and kept the focus right up here, we can get pulled in on that story, maybe a little bit off the bottom, a little bit off the top. So by punching in just that little bit, we're able to pull attention and focus. And now this feels like a primary subject. And this is just a subtle accent. It's not necessarily pulling us out. And in fact, if we were to go down, we can come back up into that hand and just do a giant circle that comes through with it. So I like the high contrast, that little bit of pop that's there, and just pulling us slightly into our subject. It feels really nice. What do we think in chat? Do we like the crop? Do you prefer a lower contrast look on this one? Something that's higher contrast?
I, just my 2 cents. I don't like the crop because I want a little breathing room. I like bringing it in on the right side like you did, but I want to have some room on the left side. I just need a little breathing. That's just me, a little breathing room. Coming in
Sure. So
on the
you
right,
liked
I
it coming
got
in
it.
on this side?
Yeah, come on. Yeah, come. Yeah, but yeah, there you go. There you go. That just works for me a little better.
Okay.
I like
Any other
I
thoughts on
like
this?
just like to breathe. That's all.
You like some room? Yep.
I agree. I think the right hand crop made a significant difference, but it was a little too tight before on the left hand side. So
Oh, wimps. Okay, yeah. I totally get you
I love
on
it.
that. Taking out of the square just that little bit, not adding to the story. This does still have some nice motion. Uh, I like the aggressive crop on there, but that's kind of the fun thing about art is that
yeah,
everybody's got their own take on it. Some stuff we're able to agree on, some stuff we're not.
there's no one right way.
There,
This is an art.
but I do like the high contrast on the image. Anybody else prefer a lower contrast look?
I actually enjoyed both of them, but I think it does have a lot more pop when you added the contrast.
Different ways to take it. Yeah. All right. Let's look at another one. So this one's also from Carrie, and she got feedback on it from Image Critique that she might consider rephotographing it so that the subject's not in a white dress. I'm sure we've all been there where we've had a gorgeous subject that's going throughout, and this is the clothing that they choose for it. And then we get the feedback, go back and reshoot it. And we're like, well, chances are we're probably not going to go back and reshoot stuff on it. But let's talk about why we might have had that comment and what we can do in terms of retouching to help pull us into it. So I'd imagine that the heart of that comment comes from mixing keys, kind of like we were talking about the chicken and the egg earlier, the white on white. We're mixing keys, meaning we have something that's really, really light here, and we get pretty dark on that mid to low key in that background, and our subject's mid to high key image. So we've got a little bit of a disconnect. So if she were in a darker dress, yeah, that might be able to kind of blend her in just a little bit more and look more cohesive with it. But it also isn't going to pop as much, or maybe might not be her as much. Let's look at what we might be able to do with processing. And I'm going to take this a few different ways just so we can see what's possible. I'm going to open up Camera Raw Filter. And I'm going to come up here and this time just select the background. There we go. I love all these selections. So what happens if we take that background out of that darker key and we start maybe lightening it up? I'm just going to pull up that exposure. Maybe some of those shadows so we aren't getting quite so deep and dark back there. There we go. And because I am lightening it, these colors are becoming a little bit extreme. So we can actually pull down the saturation so they feel a little bit more muted, a little bit more natural. So this is coming up, and now we're starting to mix it so that she feels like she belongs in the scene just a little bit more. So this is just lightening up that background. But what happens if we were to say, take the advice of the person critiquing the image and wanted to modify the dress. We're not going to go out and reshoot it, but we can use Photoshop to recolor it. So I'm just going to hit the clothes mask, which is going to do a pretty nice mask around her clothes. It's not getting everything, so I'm just going to add just a little bit with the brush, just so I can get some of these little bottom details down here. There we go. And let's look at recoloring her dress. So we can come down, and if it's white and we want to make it darker, we got to pull down that exposure. So we're not working with a pure white. There we go. We're getting into a gray. Gray's probably not the color that we want on here. So let's add in some color. Maybe I can take the color temperature. We could put her into a brown dress. Play with that a little bit. Could be kind of nice. Can change the hue, anything that we want with it. Make it so it's a little bit more of a kind of a natural look to it. Or maybe take it into a way further one and say, you know what, let's maybe pull up into the purples that we have through here. There we go. Might need to darken that just a little bit more. Someone here. So here's what it would look like if we had switched out her dress. I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK on this one. And if we're looking at it now, we've got a darker dress, so it's not that white that's pulling attention in, not pulling us away or drawing our attention away. And we're kind of harmonizing with the scene. We've got some nice colors that are coming through. So different way to approach that. I've got one more that we could look at as well. So I'm duplicating it one more time. We're going to come up here to the camera raw filter. I love being able to play with all these things together. And this time I'm going to put the image in black and white. And we can see that it feels a little bit dark and the dress does glow quite a bit. So let's handle each of those separately. I'm going to come with the background. And because this is black and white, we can really push some of these. Let's lighten this up quite a bit and maybe take all these deep dark blacks and let's just get rid of them. Let's lighten that up. So we've got really nice soft. Maybe pump that one up just a little bit. Got kind of a soft, muted scene that's coming through here. There we go. And let's do another mask that's going to be for our subject. So we can make her blend in with the scene just a little bit more. Oop, I hit the wrong button on there. Back to camera raw filter. I always do that one. I accidentally hit OK instead of saying, yes, this is the people that we want to do. The create button, not OK. There we go. And now I can go through, maybe lower the contrast on her, up the exposure just a little bit. Maybe pull back some of those whites so they aren't quite as bright. Here's where we kind of pop just a little bit. There we go. So 3 very different takes on this original image, original capture. So we have the background that's been lightened. We have our dress that's been darkened. Or we completely reimagined it in black and white. Now, which one's the correct answer? I'm not sure. I think that each of them brings something a little bit different to what the story is. So it's going to depend on what the maker was hoping from it. So I think, Carrie, you're on the call, aren't you?
I am. I unmuted myself, and now my bird wants to say
Oh,
what he thinks.
I'm
So
going to start
sorry
singing.
about that. No, yeah, I definitely like the when you did the dress being green and it kind of harmonized with nature because she is a very outdoors kind of person. So,
With the
um,
purple dress?
right when you had it originally like with the green,
Oh,
um,
changing the dress to green. Okay.
yeah, I thought that was really nice and I can see why lightening the background that kind of does help because I've always been told to separate, your background from your subject, but I feel like that would probably too much.
Yeah, so separation is important. So we want to make sure that we don't have the subject that's blurring into that background element, but we can use tonal values, we can use light, we can use focus. We've got a whole bunch of different ways that we can try to add some depth in between our subject and our background. So you can kind of mix and match on there, but sticking within a key or choosing extreme contrast are both really, really good ways of doing it.
Hmm.
So which
Yeah,
sort of feeling, if you were to rework this image, would you go with? Would you go kind of changing the dress to a green and making it more harmonious?
I think so. I think so. Just because, I mean, and I know that the two images won't be judged side by side, but since I didn't envision this one to be black and white, being in nature, I was thinking more of the greens and the harmony and stuff like that. I'd probably colorize it in green.
I did it again with that. I was trying to show so I get it up there and I hit okay. I do it like so many times. Kimberly, do you still do that?
I do that sometimes too because I'm so used to being in Lightroom more often. And then when you go into Camera Raw,
Yeah, just a
that
little
button's
bit
right
different.
there screaming at you. Okay, okay.
Are you sure you want to do this? So we'll get this up here. I want to see it in green now.
And I really liked it when you had that like brownish and then you took that brown just a hint green. I
Mm-hmm.
think, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty
Some of
too.
that taupe that comes through.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it amazing that like how nice we can get these selections here?
Yes.
It's like, whoa, kind of blows my mind what we can do. I think maybe a little bit darker on that.
What do you do about the the flowers that are in front of the dress?
I was just going to
Yeah.
say something about
I
that.
was like, because that would be really hard to like
Yeah.
mask
So
out. But what do you
this
Well,
is
do?
you
that and
can't,
around hair is super, super difficult to mask out. So we're
you might want
definitely
to
going to run into
try,
what's
Chris,
that?
doing that, do a subtract of the with one of the landscape options and see if
Ooh, I
um,
like that. Let's see what it does.
yeah.
So what Kimberly's saying is that we have this selection up here. So we can go and we've got the ability to like invert the mask or we can intersect it with other things. What she's saying is that what we want to do is use some of the new tools that are on here. So um, let's see for
Subtract's not there. Isn't use that sidebar you had right there. There should be
uh,
yeah,
there we go
there.
down at the bottom. Like, where is that button? There you go.
It's hiding because
You're
you're
right.
on a smaller screen for Zoom.
Yep. If we hit select landscape, it's going to bring up some cool options for us. And we can say, hey, let's look at maybe our vegetation that's coming through or the natural ground in this case. The vegetation's more of what we're looking for. So we're just going to subtract that one. And it didn't do a super job.
No, you might have to go in manually with the brush.
Yep. I think that's probably going to be our best option there.
The other option could have been doing the person's clothes, and then you can brush on extra like you did, and then intersect with the luminosity with the white.
Oh, try that is a kind of a clever idea. So on the brushing in, seeing if we can intersect it with our luminosity range.
Yeah, so back up there
Yep.
with your, yep.
And then we can, that one's working. That little bit that's coming
So
up there.
yeah, Carrie, you can play with this. I think it has potential.
So
Something that's
how
kind of
did you
fun.
select the vegetation on the bottom?
Oh, so we tried the vegetation and it didn't work. It was too much stuff that was coming up in between it. What Kimberly had recommended, and it worked really well, was we did the brush. We painted on the area that it couldn't figure out before.
Okay.
So let me hide these ones. So here's what we had with just the clothing selection is what's here, and we're missing this bottom piece down here.
Okay.
So we brushed it on then, and it covered up everything, including the vegetation.
Okay.
But then we said, you know what? Let's have this so that it only affects the white areas. So that's where the luminance range came in. And we said only affect the white areas because the dress is white. So all these darker elements up front aren't going to be covered as much.
Okay, got it. Okay. That's interesting.
And
That's
some of these new mask features are really powerful. Sometimes they're a total miss, though, too.
very cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So something that could be kind of fun. Actually, I'm going to pull this one up in one more time. And if we are looking at our image, we do have like some variety of greens or purples that are coming through. If we scroll down into where is it? Not our color grading, our color mixer. Nope, that's not the one I want.
I always get confused with those two.
It's here. Okay, I'm going to select our background again. that's up here. And now point color. It's not in that main one, but oh, I'm having all sorts of tech trouble today.
It is in the main one, but it's the title throws me off too. It's not called point color there.
So on point color, where did it go? There it goes. Okay. Excellent. So on point color, we can take this sample point and say highlight maybe one of these greens that are coming through. And now we can play with the overall like hue saturation, and the variance is the one that I absolutely love. So with variance, if we increase it, it's going to really pop those colors. And if we go to the left, it's going to harmonize the colors. So they're all the same tone that's coming throughout. So this can be kind of a cool thing if we were wanting to kind of match some of the colors in the scene. I've got that overlay showing up on it. But it can produce a little bit more of a harmonious scene. Kind of a cool little tool that's there.
Hmm. You don't think that muddies it up too much where they would be like, oh, it doesn't look like it looks like it's been blurred out too much?
Yeah, well, we aren't changing the blur effect on it. We're just changing what the colors are. So instead of having a lot of these oranges,
Mm.
orange undertones, it's gone through. So it's just kind of that softer.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying.
Look at it back there. So one other thing, and this is more of a personal pet peeve for me, but when we're shooting with shallow depth of field, we're going to see that we've got maybe our foreground that's nice and soft, our background's nice and soft, our subjects tack sharp, really popping, but we're going to get whatever that range of our depth is going to be tack sharp all the way throughout here. We can see exactly where it's going. And for me, that pulls some attention away. And so my eye tends to be drawn to this sharp edge, sharp focus right up against our presentation. And we've got it on both sides. And it kind of takes me a little bit out of where our core subject is. So if you did want to address that, something kind of cool you could do is we can come up here to our blur gallery, and we're going to do an iris blur. And so with an iris blur, we set it on our subject, and now we can control how much blur we're going to be adding, radiating out from our subject. And we can put this at angles too. So maybe finding just something where it's almost to that edge, but not quite. And we can bring in however we need it and control how much that fall off is going to go from super blurry to not blurry at all. Say, okay, how much do I want up there? And maybe just add in just a teeny tiny bit. And then we can just add in a subtle, subtle blur. So maybe just a few pixels just to help take some of that sharpness off that edge. So if we look at kind of a before after, we've got now just a little bit of softness that's there versus the very, very sharp edge that we had before. Sharpness, soft edge. So this can be kind of a nice way to play with that and give it a little bit more of a circular spot that we have some focus and take a little bit of that attention off. If you ever are watching movies, pay attention to the very, very bottom or top edges. You'll notice that they have a very similar effect, just a subtle, subtle couple pixel blur that's right on that edge that just helps make it so that your eye isn't going right up against the letterbox or up against the black part of the screen. So we're keeping that focus in just a little bit more, just a little bit tighter. That's coming through. Anybody else do that? Is that a pet peeve for anybody else, or is it just me?
I had noticed that it had bothered me, but I didn't know how to fix it. So thank you.
And if you did want it off of a part of your subject too, you can't always just mask it. Like, let's say I wanted it so that it wasn't hitting up this. We can just come through and paint that off as well. So you can clean it off and leave it on just those edges. Decide what you want or don't want with it. So cool. Thanks for sharing with us, Carrie.
Thank you.
All right. So I've got a family portrait from Mike. And looking at this one, we've got a couple of things that are happening in it. So really nice family union. I'd imagine they'd love having this hanging up on their wall. And we can tell that it was a pretty bright day that was going out. We've got an overexposed background, a little bit of detail, but not a ton. Maybe even see some of that sun poking out back there. And we've got some pretty deep shadows that are coming across on this image. This one's not as High resolution is what Carrie's image was, so we can't pixel peep quite as much that's coming on there. But we can see that where there's no flash that's coming, just our ambient light, we're pretty dark in those areas. You can see that on the tree too, in between areas. So we've got some really, really deep, dark areas, as well as some really bright areas, like on the sky behind us. And everything that was lit by flash then has a nice balanced out exposure. So when we're looking at like constructing these sort of images, we always want to try to balance out things as much as we can. So if we wanted to have as much texture in the shadowed areas and make it so that our sky wasn't blown out as much, we've got a couple of different options for doing that. One would be to move the entire family and shoot everything maybe in a shaded area where we can just have a kiss of light that's coming through to help shape the faces and just make those eyes pop and come to life. That's a really, really good one, and that's one of my preferred options. But maybe we have to stay here, right? We have those circumstances. This is the only time we could do it. This is the spot that it had to be at because that's their sacred family hay pile. And we've got to do it here because grandma loved it or something. So in this case, then we need to add in a secondary light source that's going to be lifting some of those shadows. So instead of having that deep dark shadow over here, we'd have a light maybe on axis from the camera, behind the camera, shooting forward, lightening up some of those images. So lightening up those elements to it. So either option could totally work for it, but our goal is to decrease the dynamic range inside this image so we can keep some focus on there. We are able to recover a little bit. This is a fairly small JPEG, so I don't know how much we're going to be able to do, but we can kind of look and see some of the stuff that we can do. So we can maybe look at some of those shadows and say, we can lighten some of those up, or maybe take this black point and lighten up just a little bit. I love taking this black point and just lightening up images if I want to reduce contrast in it. Can help give us there. We can see that we have no information here, so no matter how much we do it, how much we lighten up, we're still not going to take that out of a pure black. So we could do some cloning or something like that to try to get it. But we can just help just fill in some of those areas. And now we're feeling pretty bright in some of the others, so we might take down some of those highlight areas too, just so we have a little bit more balanced exposure coming through. Maybe decrease that contrast, darken that up just a little bit. So we can try to get some of those areas, and then doing things like maybe selecting the sky, see if we can recover any of those highlights. It's doing a pretty good job missing some of those areas. Looks like there was maybe a vignette applied or something. Just taking it here, and maybe we can pull back some of those details or do a sky swap, maybe warm it up. Try to get just a little bit. It's not picking up fully what we've got going on here. Might do a mask where we take away some of this vegetation or some of the darker tones that are there. But we've got some working area that's on this. What do you do when you're in that sort of situation where we've got this bright day? We want to try to get a family unit that's being photographed, get some light in there. What techniques do you tend to lean towards?
Shade.
Shade. That's
And
kind
I
of
cry.
the easy button, right?
Right.
Yeah, shade and add light.
Yep. So if we're in that shaded area, that means that our natural shade is going to be our fill. So everything that's even in the shadowed areas are going to be at that level. So it's just that kiss of light that comes across then. Helps give us that nice shaping light to it without drawing too much attention to it. So that's my preference too. Anytime that I get a chance, I like to go in that route whenever possible. All right.
Hey,
Got one more.
Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry I'm late. I usually only do this at parties. Show up late when all the beer's gone.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. A question. Are you sure this wasn't already in shade? Because why else would that part underneath the hay bale be so dark when you compare it with the background?
Yeah. So, what my guess is that we've got light that's being cast, maybe from backlight that's coming forward, and so we've got the shade, if that's our light source, coming back here from the sun, coming down this way, projecting light. So this is casting a shadow that's down here.
Oh, okay. So the sun is behind us rather than
That's what it
behind
looks
the
like.
subject. Yeah.
Yep. I'm just guessing by where we have some detail that's coming through that area. So I guess that we had some sort of backlight, so they didn't have light coming in and blinding people, casting shadows. And so we can see that where the light's not hitting on our subject, like on the
Yeah,
back of his shirt, that's in a deep, deep shadow, which means that our universal shade fill is probably not there.
yeah, okay. Do you know if
And
the maker used a softbox or just a direct
uh,
line?
I'm not entirely sure on this. We can evaluate just a little bit by looking at what some of the shadows are doing. So we can kind of track down, like on his chin, we can see that that shape's coming from here. So we can tell that that's the angle and direction. Same coming through here. We've got a really, really small amount of loop lighting. Uh, I don't even know if we can call it that just because it's almost right on level, just slightly above where they're at. A little bit more pronounced on mom that we can see the directional light that's coming through. So my guess would be that we've got a fairly close in light that's kind of coming down at a slight angle coming this way. It's casting all of these shadows. And if we look, we can see that our subject on the right is much brighter than our other subject. So Dad's looking really good. I'm digging his exposure that we've got on. We're getting a little bit contrasty on mom that's coming through. But the girl on the right, we've got some really bright areas in comparison to what the rest of the scene is. So I'm guessing that the light source is in fairly close to it, just trying to pick up some of those details that are there. And because our subject is closer to the light source, they're coming up brighter on it. All right.
Another approach is to use high-speed sync.
Yes. So high speed sync is fascinating. What we've got with the high speed sync world is we've got essentially a strobe light that's going click, 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 flash, 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 flash. As we've got just a whole bunch of these series of small flashes that allows us to get away from our shutter. So we don't have that ugly line that comes through our image if we exceed the sync speed. So if you've ever had an image where like half of it is all dark and black and the other half is really, really light and bright where our flash went off, that's our shutter that's closing. So high speed sync says instead of one big flash that's going off, we've got a series of small flashes that are going strobing, allowing us to get our shutter speed a lot faster, which means we can control ambient light because our shutter speed is the controlling factor for that ambient light. So yes, that's a really, really good technique for being able to shoot in places that you couldn't do or use faster shutter speeds that we might not have been able to do before. So that means you could actually have them if we flipped them around with that full sun facing and we could still overpower that sun. Kind of cool. All right. We'll look at one more. This one's also from Mike. And we've got a nice executive portrait that's coming here. And we've got overall really nice balances coming through. So I do like to see nice, subtle expression that feels really nice. He's dressed professionally. We've got a good look that's going through an environmental setting. So we have some idea of where he is at, set some context to it. I like that we've got some action that's happening with the hands. It doesn't feel static. He feels very genuine that's coming through. So nice job on the interaction with the subject. There are a few things that are distracting to me. I'm really drawn to this bottom part where we have the white cuffs and we've got the white paper that's coming through. It's just pulling my attention down. This is the highest contrast area inside the image, and it just competes for attention. We also have this white wall that's back behind, and we've also got another high contrast area. So instead of being locked in on our subject and the expression, we now have some competing elements that are pulling attention away from it. So it would be really nice if we maybe flagged off part of this background so we don't see as much of exposure on this bottom part of the image. Maybe doing the same thing with this background element or repositioning the camera so that his desk area frames him differently and we just don't see this area at all. That would help keep subject or all the focus in on our subject. Couple other things. If we do get a little bit more pixel peeping, this is another one of my pet peeves. We got this line crossing right across his jawline. It's a shadow being cast from his jacket from a light that's coming in this background. Now, the light is nice because it's going to add this beautiful rim light to him that's going all along here, helping provide some separation. And I love me some separation. But when we're at a low angle or a straight on angle, we can end up casting shadows on our subject. And then this one, this line that's going across the jaw right here just feels very, very unnatural to me. So solution would be, if we could reshoot it, just raising up our kicker light and having it up high and coming down so that we could maybe cast a line along his jawline, helping kind of define that just a little bit more with that subtle kicker that's happening. Um, or trying to maybe boom the light so it's coming up above and that kicker comes down while still getting some nice separation on those shoulders. So if we didn't have any sort of separation there, then we'd be really blending in and missing out on some of the details that are up here. So just being mindful of where that is. I like the idea of that kicker separation, but the placement is what's getting me on it. And one more small little pet peeve is the tie poking out here. It's another high contrast area, some color. So if we are going to be having this one, we've got a 3-button suit that's there. Traditionally, we don't button up that very bottom button. And it's nice when we can have like a waistcoat or a tie that's going to pull attention down. But if we're on our image, that's pulling in some extra focus down there. So I usually cheat when something like this happens. And I'm going to create an adjustment layer here just to show you what simple thing that we can do. We can just take our levels and say, you know what? I don't want to have any pure white that's coming through here. We're going to back that up, maybe lighten it up just a little bit, just making it super low contrast that's up here. Now it's hitting everything and I don't want it to hit everything. So I'm going to invert that mask. And now I can just paint it in. Nice soft brush coming through here. And we can just help take some of that focus away. So not on the jacket, but I just want a little bit less emphasis, a little bit less contrast that's coming through. And I can clean up that mask just a little bit more. There we go. So now it doesn't pull as much attention away. It feels like it's shadowed, feels like it's shaded, not quite as prevalent there. And we can lighten and darken it too. That kind of feels like it blends into the scene just a little bit more. Anything else that you might change on this? Or that you think works really well?
I think the expression's really nicely done. I agree with you with all the distractions. One of the things that also distracted me was the area on the far right in the lower area because of the contrast of the black, whatever, shelves or whatever that is. Yes.
Yep.
That goes along with the other distractions that you had mentioned.
Yeah, so we've got just that area that's catching our eyes. So it's pulling that tension, pulling that focus away. And on a business portrait, that's really, really important because this is how people are judging us by. So it's not necessarily as much personality. This is a business tool. It's a commercial tool. We've got to have trust. We've got to have that polish that's coming through. So for somebody that's dressed as professionally as he is, I'd imagine that we want to have, with that warmth and expression on his face, we want to have that sort of connection that's there. And so we want to be locked in. That's his major factor. Photographer did an amazing job of getting a really nice natural expression. I'm actually kind of digging that low contrast lighting, keeps us locked in. We've got nice details in the suit. So the primary light's really nice. Just that little bit of flagging, a little bit of background control. A whole different game that's there. Well, cool. It's hard to believe it, but we are already at an hour for today. Again, I'm going to stop sharing on here if I can figure out how. I moved it over to a different screen. I don't know how on there. There we go. Had to hit buttons. Very fun. Okay. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me on another episode of Office Hours. I do love all the questions, conversations, and critiques that are coming through. So if you do have an image that you want us to discuss, would love to do it. We've got a cool power group that's up here. And just a heads up in terms of the format of the show, I've got one more episode here in a couple of weeks, and then we're going to be taking a short break for the summer. So when I set this webinar series up, wanted to put it up into seasons so that I didn't get burnt out, you don't get burnt out, we can get some sunshine. I know it's definitely a busy time. So I've got one more episode this season, and then we'll be picking it back up in August. So thanks again, everybody. I appreciate you joining me and spending some time here.